Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Two Way Tonight. It is 6 p.m. Eastern Time, July 15th. Uh, and this program is going to go for a full hour and it's going to be action packed. Action packed. It's my third of four shows today. And as you can see, I'm filled with verve. Thank you for joining and being part of the Two Way community. If you're ready to ask a question here on the platform, please raise your hand. Incredible guest tonight. You know what? My favorite combo, returning guest who everyone loves, fan favorite. In this case, that role is played by Nomi Konst. And then Ben Ferguson of the Ben Ferguson Show, nationally syndicated, hyper successful, making his two-way debut, as far as I know. Oh, no, not his two-way debut. He was on with Megan, making his two-way tonight debut. That's really what I meant. Anyway, they'll both be here. And then a little later in the program, a project I'm super excited about, an organization that connects people in times of trouble or grief. We'll talk to Jordan Arrighetti later in the show. If you're watching on X or YouTube, couldn't be happier to have you here. You have paid the bills through your participation. Don't put smack in the chat on this day of all days. Don't put smack in the chat, please. Don't make me beg. Someone the other day emailed me like a screenshot of some of the chat, and it was smack laden. It was just filled with smack. Don't do that. We will run through the top stories of the day with our guests. Very similar to last night. The two top stories, just like last night, Ukraine and Epstein. And I have to say, earlier today, I interviewed Britt Hume, one of my professional heroes, someone who helped me in my career so much by his example and his advice. And one of the things I said about Britt is, in journalism, often they'll say, well, you got interesting stories and you have important stories. And there's sometimes a tension. You know, what should we cover today? Because the viewers, the audience wants interesting stories, but we as journalists have an obligation to cover important stories. And the thing about Britt is he never saw that conflict because he knew, because he's such a great writer, great storyteller, that he could make any important story interesting. In this case, I think both these stories are very interesting. Ukraine, the stakes couldn't be higher. And the challenge that President Trump has, with a totally different orientation than President Biden about how to deal with America's role in the world, still has the same challenge: leverage over Putin. Yes, I never read the chat, but I glanced at it. I interviewed Britt on Next Up. It's posted now. Incredibly important and interesting story. And the Epstein story, Britt said he thought it was much ado about nothing. Huge development today. We'll get to in a moment. Speaker Johnson, after previously saying Pam Bondi's doing a great job, in line with the White House saying nothing to see here, we can move on, today said no, not only should the Attorney General release more, but Giselle Maxwell should come to Capitol Hill and testify. That's a big explosion. So we'll do all that with our guests in just a moment. And then again, we'd love to get your questions. So please raise your hand if you're here on the two-way platform, you'd like to be involved in the conversation. But before we bring in our guests, it's time once again to tell you about a word from our sponsors at Cozy Earth. Cozy Earth makes clothes that are made for summer. I've been wearing them all summer and sleeping on their bedding, and I'll tell you, there's nothing like it. I don't know of anything else in the market. It's viscose, made from bamboo. It's cooling. It wicks away moisture. And I'll admit I'm getting a little heat from my family. Why are you always wearing the same pants? And the answer is because until it's below 90 degrees, I'm going to wear these pants. Couldn't be more comfortable. The sleepwear, incredibly comfortable and cooling during the hottest nights of the year. Nothing matches it. So buy it now. There's a 100-night sleep trial. You can buy it, try it out. If you don't like it, hassle-free return. Keep it. You get a 10-year warranty on all their bedding products. So right now, I would recommend this. Upgrade your summer sleep. Head to CozyEarth.com. If you use the code two-way, you get 40% off their best-selling sheets, pajamas, and more. 40% off. Can't beat that. 40% off if you use the code two-way. Sleep cooler, lounge lighter, stay cozy with Cozy Earth. And I can't tell you what, but I'm wearing one of their products right now. That's all I'll say. All right. Let's bring in our guests, because I don't want to do any more news without them, because I no longer trust my instincts about what's important, what's newsy, what's important to say. So let's bring in our first guest. Fan favorite, international traveler, New York City resident, biggest smile this side of Dan Turrentine, Nomi Konst. Nomi, welcome back. Thank you for joining.
Having me, Mark. Always fun.
Go ahead. Love having you on. That's all I have to say. Now, do you know Ben Ferguson? Do you know his oeuvre?
I think we've been on some shows together in the past, like in the Fox days,
Really?
something else, I
You're
think.
just a lady of the green room. No one told Ben not to dress.
Wow.
Ben, I hope that's AI. I hope you're not wearing that, or I hope you wore it for somebody besides us. You got to unmute first. First unmute. One more time, Ben.
There we go. Now you got me.
Yeah, yes, sir.
Tell I said I was doing a hit right beforehand, so you get me well dressed. I mean, good to see you again. It's been forever.
Do you remember? Nomi has only the vaguest recollection of your previous dealings. Do you remember?
Well, you know, that happens in life. When you're as popular as she was, there's a lot of people that come and go on TV. Yeah. You know, it's just, who am I on with today? I get it.
You tell us, was it the green room of the Five? Where was it?
It was Fox, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
It was Fox for sure.
Yeah. So Ben, I'm sure many of the people here not only know who you are, but are dazzled by your appearance. But for those who don't, how would you explain how you got to where you are today?
Yeah, I started in radio when I was 12 years old by accident. My mom was listening to talk radio in the car. I was in the back seat. She didn't know I was paying attention, and they were arguing over the school lunch program. You may remember Richard Gephardt came out with a bottle of ketchup and said, "Is this what Republicans are going to consider to be a vegetable soon?" And he said they were cutting school lunch programs, and I said I didn't understand Republican or Democrat, and I said to my mom, I was like, I don't think anyone would do that, take away kids' meals. And she said, well, why don't you call our congressman, guy by the name of Harold Ford Sr. So I did, read the bill, and found out that the Republicans want to increase school lunch program by 3%. Democrats want to do it by 3.2, and they were calling the difference a cut. Called in the radio show the next day. The lady yelled at me. Not a good idea to yell at a 12-year-old. I asked her if she'd read the bill, and she said, no one reads the bills. I said, well, then that's also a lie. Maybe before you act like you're an expert, you should read the bill. I'm 12, and I read it yesterday. And the rest, as they say, is history. Another show heard it. They played the clip, asked me to call in. I did. Ended up going on as a guest and did it 2 weeks in a row. And they hired me a week later, and I've been doing radio ever since.
That's an incredible story, Ben.
That's the fastest I can put it together.
That's good. I bet you've told it before. Is my instinct, but it's a great story, and I'm very glad you shared it. Which has better food, Mississippi or Tennessee?
So I went to Ole Miss.
Yeah.
And so I'm biased, obviously, to the culinary expertise of the South. But I'm a Memphis guy. I actually had a barbecue restaurant in Memphis for several years called Ferguson's Barbecue. I vote Memphis barbecue or Memphis food for sure. Yeah. 100%.
Is Rendezvous just for tourists, or does it have legit good food?
So I know the owners. They have great ribs, and it's phenomenal for tourism. If you've ever gone to Memphis, or if you're going there, you got to go try it. But there's some hole-in-the-wall places in Memphis that are just insane.
And that's the thing. Not to turn this into a travel show about Memphis, but Rendezvous is great, and you can buy it online, and it's fantastic. Yeah. But if you just drive 20 minutes in any direction out of Memphis and stop at anything that you think is a condemned shack, you walk in there, they'll serve you fantastic ribs.
Cozy Corner. It is literally, it looks like it's not open. It is open. And the woman just got in the Hall of Fame for barbecue.
Yeah. Ben, second, better looking people, Mississippi or Tennessee?
I'm going to go with Tennessee.
All right. So he's a Tennessee loyalist. Now, here's how we're going to decide. So I've seen two artists, musical artists, who in their concerts had a gimmick. They brought a wheel, and the wheel had all the names of all their giant wheel had the songs on them, and they spun the wheel, and whatever song it landed on, they played. Can you name either artist? You ever seen that?
No. Which ones? What are they?
Barry Manilow and Elvis Costello.
So one of us just aged ourselves. I don't know if that was you or me.
It was me. It was me. In a Barry Manilow concert, I'll tell you the circumstances. Okay. Kellyanne Conway, whose name back then was Kellyanne something else. Fitzpatrick. Thank you. She said, would you like to go to meet Margaret Thatcher at the Willard Hotel and then to the Barry Manilow concert and sit in the Philip Morris box? The answer is yes. And the best thing about the Barry Manilow concert, besides the spinning wheel, was in the Philip Morris box with us was Larry Craig.
Oh, yeah.
Who at the time was not out of the closet in any respect. And he and I danced all night to Barry Manilow. And at one point, through inadvertent swaying, our butts touched. Good. And when it came out later that he had a wide stance, I remembered that moment.
But I feel like that's like a book title or like a movie title in waiting there. Our butts touched.
Our butts touched. The Larry
Craig,
like Mark
Halperin stance better.
Yeah.
I think,
but it was an incredible night. I met Margaret Thatcher first and only time. Chances I do it again are de minimis.
Yeah.
And I saw Barry Manilow with Larry Craig in the Philip Morris box. Great evening.
What was it like hanging out with her? What was her demeanor like just at a concert?
Lady Thatcher or
Yeah.
Kellyanne? She didn't come
Lady
to the concert. The Lady Thatcher did not come to the Mandela concert.
Okay.
This was a 2-event thing. The Willard Hotel, AEI dinner for Thatcher.
Yep.
And then, you know, after she spoke, we raced to the MCI Center. I think that's what it was called then.
Oh, yeah.
So it was a double header. In any event, enough about my reminiscing. Here's how we're going to decide. And this is why I brought up the wheel. You guys are both going to close your eyes and you're going to vote. You don't need to close them yet. You're going to vote. One finger means you think we should lead with Ukraine, and 2 fingers means we should lead with Epstein. And God willing, you'll vote the same way. Because if it's a tie, I don't know what we're going to do. So close your eyes. 1 finger, we should lead with Ukraine. 2 fingers, we should lead with Epstein. Okay. Oh, thank goodness you guys have the same sensibility. Here we go, Jeffrey Epstein. Thank you both. All right.
We also know the news industry, and we want to get you ratings, and that's gonna.
Okay. All right. If you say so. The producers agree. They were like, we're going to superimpose an AI 2 finger over anybody who puts up 1.
There you go.
Again, if you want to get in on the conversation, please raise your hand. The big news of the day, and this, you know, yesterday, Laura Trump said, you know, there's going to be more, and everything else was trending. This is dying down. Charlie Kirk, everything was trending, dying down. And then they asked the president, well, do you agree with your daughter-in-law? And he's like, no. Didn't really say. Today, Speaker Johnson, after House Republicans squelched a Democratic effort to get a vote on demanding the release of all the Epstein documents, boom, the Speaker of the House with our friend Benny Johnson, I call him our friend, I don't really know, I've met him, with Benny Johnson, exploded this bomb. Number 4, please.
Johnson, this is sort of on the heels of something else that a lot of people are asking questions about. And because we've been lied to by our federal government for so long, I feel like there's some type of like there's a pain point, right? In the pressure cooker that gets heated up on issues like the Epstein issue, right? And obviously that's something that's taken over a lot of the online dialogue. I have a question here about it that concerns either testifying or testimony for Ghislaine Maxwell, potentially before Congress, or if you would support members like Marjorie Taylor Greene or Anna Paulina Luna on the release of subpoenaing the Epstein documents from the DOJ, whether you would support either of those.
Yeah, I haven't talked to Marjorie or Anna about that specific subject, but I'm for transparency. We're intellectually consistent in this. We look, Reagan used to tell us we should trust the American people. I believe in that principle. I know President Trump does as well, and I trust him. I mean, he put together a team of his choosing, and they're doing a great job. It's a very delicate subject, but we should put everything out there and let the people decide it. I mean, the White House and the White House team are privy to facts that I don't know. I mean, this isn't my lane. I haven't been involved in that. But I agree with the sentiment that we need to put it out there. And you know, Pam Bondi, I don't know, when she originally made the statement, I think she was talking about documents, as I understood it, they were on her desk. I don't know that she was specific about a list or whatever, but she needs to come forward and explain that to everybody. I like Pam. I mean, I think she's done a good job. We need the DOJ focusing on the major priorities. So let's get this thing resolved so that they can deal with violent crime and public safety and election integrity and going after Act Blue and the things that the president is most concerned about, as we are. So I'm anxious to get this behind us.
Whoa. So let's talk about this. There's a few other developments in Epstein, but let's talk about this. Ben, you're a student of the Speaker. We all have become students of the Speaker. He's crazy like a fox. Is he representing his moral vision? Is it the conference? Because there are plenty of Republicans in the conference who are saying that. What do you think is causing him to take that position?
I think he's listening to the base as well, and he's obviously paying attention to people are saying, we want more, even if it's nothing. We want to see what is redacted, even if it's nothing. We want transparency, even if it shows us nothing different. I'm in that camp. I think this is one of those moments where there's so much distrust of the deep state in our government. And when you put, I also think this was a PR nightmare that could have been avoided. When you bring in conservative MAGA influencers to the White House, and I know some of them well, and you give them a binder and you tell them to walk out there with a binder and it says Epstein Files Part 1, and then it's nothing in those binders that is new or unique, you set them up to look like idiots, number one. But number two, like, don't act like there's more coming if you're going to do that when there's nothing else coming is now what you're saying. So I want transparency. By the way, I would love to have her come before Congress and testify, because I think a lot of people think that that trial was pretty quick. I think there's a lot of people that think there's a lot of covering up for important and very important people. Easily could be on both sides of the aisle. I don't care who you are. If you're a scumbag and you've been involved with Jeffrey Epstein and sex trafficking of young girls and underage girls, I want to know who you are, and I think you should be outed, whether you're alive or you've already passed away. I don't care if it messes up your legacy. So this comes down to, I think, the basics for the speaker's understanding now. I've got two different sides here. What am I going to do? I'm going to say I'm in favor of transparency. That's what many people that voted for Donald Trump say they want. And there's a lot of people that aren't happy right now. So I think they're getting back to that pretty quickly. I think you can see them backpedaling, saying, okay, us putting out a statement and saying maybe it's time to move on, or a memo is not going to do enough to make the base happy. Give us transparency. Let us see it with our own eyes.
Just before Nomi weighs in, because I'm predicting she's going to agree with much of what you said, maybe. Do you think she will testify? A prediction is difficult, especially about the future. But
yeah, that's a hard one. Look, I think there's a lot of people in Congress that are going to push really, really hard for this.
Yeah.
And I would go back to this. What is the downside? The one concern, if I was a member of Congress, would be, is she going to say something that is going to out victims? Because you have to protect the victims.
Amen.
And I think that is something that's so important. My dad, I grew up in a law enforcement family. Protecting victims, especially of sex crimes, is so vitally important. So can you do this in an open setting, right? Where she can say what she needs to say, but also make sure you protect the victims? That is going to be a hard one. The logistics of that. If you put her closed door, then people say you're hiding something.
Yeah,
so that's not going to work either. So I think there's a lot of rules that are going to have to be laid out here, and protections for victims. That's the number one thing I want to make sure happens.
No, I'd love for you first to say, do you think she'll ever testify? And then your overall view.
Yeah.
No.
Okay, no.
Do I think she'll ever testify? I mean, there's also her legal defense, whether her lawyers will allow her to testify, whether it puts her in a position. I mean, who knows if she's trying to, there's also probably other things, like, is she trying to get pardoned? Is she withholding information? I mean, the case was very complicated, but it also moved very quickly, as Ben said. And I do love it. You know, they say this never happens. I do love it when there's a bipartisan effort where we agree, but I pretty much agree with everything Ben said. I think the politics of this was very predictable. I really don't understand how the Trump administration got themselves wrapped up in this bind. What also is fascinating to me, let's put aside the congressional politics, fascinating to me just how much of Trump's base, which is unmovable on so many things, including, you know, Donald Trump being on the Access Hollywood tapes, they're moved on Epstein. I mean, I would have never called that one. I wouldn't think that was a thing that's going to pull them away from Donald Trump and being loyal to him, the Epstein case. So fascinating revelation in terms of the psyche of his most loyal soldiers. But aside from that, you know, Mike Johnson is playing a congressional game right now. He has to speak to the base. He knows what the margins in Congress are right now. He has to be very careful in how he dances with the administration, as we all know. And that's the most traditional, you know, fight a speaker has with a sitting president of the same party is, you know, when they don't agree on something. I just want to drop one more thing in. What's up with Benny Johnson doing this interview? This is a guy who was in an indictment about Russia and receiving funding from Russia. How is it that Mike Johnson, our current speaker, is sitting down with this man and people are taking it seriously? That's just a side note. I think that's a concern.
I can answer that.
Go ahead.
It was clear in the indictment, and the indictment said that those that were hired by a shell company in Tennessee, of all places, outside of Nashville, had no knowledge, and this was coming from the indictment under Biden's regime, of any knowledge of the funds originating from where? Russia, for influencing. So I want to be fair. Like, if it happened to you, I wouldn't want someone to smear you with a cheap shot that way. And it said in the indictment that they had no knowledge that the funds were coming in, and that's why they were not indicted. Their names were in there because it was part of the flow of the cash. None of them were charged with any crimes. They were also, it said in the indictment that they were innocent and they had committed no crime. So let's be clear about that as well.
Yeah. Wait. Let's play fast and loose with the facts here.
Yeah.
It said this was an indictment against one company, and they were listed in the indictment. Who knows what was going to happen if say Kamala Harris would have been reelected? But they said there was no evidence that they were.
It was a closed case.
I don't remember anybody voting to have our first topic be Benny.
Sorry,
No,
I just
that's
as
all
a
right.
side note, I
No,
mean,
that's all right. I just don't remember that. All right.
talk about conspiracy theories. I mean,
what-
Benny Johnson is a classic
Yeah.
conspiracy theorist, so it's a perfect venue to have this.
But doesn't mean you can say things about him that aren't true. I don't mean you. I mean Juan. As far as I know, Ben's facts were correct. I have limited knowledge of the case, but that's my
I read the
understanding.
indictment, and I had a debate Benny
Yeah.
Johnson on TV
Yeah.
about this. There was no, in the indictment, it did not say that he was innocent. That was never something that was listed in the indictment. And
Well,
it didn't say
they normally don't put that in an
They
indictment.
said they committed no crimes. There was no crimes committed.
All right. We'll get back to Benny as time allows. Maybe we'll do a whole episode. You two. Maybe we'll have Benny on. Put up number 5, please. So Wired, which has been all over the tech aspects of the Epstein case, says that there's a 3-minute cut rather than a 1-minute cut. And again, you'll recall that the Attorney General's position was that the 1-minute gap was the product of the normal routine, that there's a 1-minute gap every night. And what they say now is metadata from the quote unquote raw Epstein prison video shows approximately 2 minutes and 53 seconds were removed from one of the 2 stitched together clips. The cut starts right at the missing minute. Again, I don't know that their reporting's true. Ben, I don't know if you've ever killed anybody, but can you kill somebody in 2 minutes and 53 seconds?
I'm sure you can.
Yeah.
I never have.
Yeah.
But I also, this is one of those examples of why so many Americans have zero faith in our government, zero faith in the investigative aspect of our government. And it's like, hey, here's a tape, but we're not going to give you the whole tape because some of it's missing. Like, how do I have any trust in that? And so this goes back to transparency. It goes back to, I think, one of the reasons why you have so many people, they're just frustrated when they voted for Donald Trump the second time. And if you look at what our exit poll data showed, people wanted exposing of the government, of anyone that was doing things that were shady or corrupt. They wanted transparency. They don't trust the deep state. And Donald Trump said, if you bring me in, I'm going to let you see what's happening. Whether it was the assassination of JFK, right? I mean, he was going back, whether it was Martin Luther King. And so he was saying, the American people deserve to see what their government has been doing or what they've been covering up. And so when you put out a tape like this and they're like, oh, it's just routine, there's a minute here missing. I'm glad there's geeks out there. And I say that with like kindness.
Yeah.
I love that there are geeks out there that understand the data, the stuff I do not understand on coding and times and all of these things. Thank you for doing great work and asking questions. But this goes back to the core issue. There is no trust in our government institutions right now for this reason in the deep state.
Yeah. Again, raise your hand if you want in the conversation. We're going to have to jump to some other topics in a second because there are a lot of other topics. Nomi, if you were called by the president and inclined to help him, and he said, "What should I do now?" What would you tell him? What would you tell him to do?
I would change the subject, which is what he's trying to do.
Yeah.
It's not working so well. Listen, I mean, I think if you're going to have a conversation about Epstein and continue it, I would focus it on the Clintons. I would focus it on all the Democrats who ran around with Epstein. And I would say things like, I would probably explain the Epstein things a little bit more. I'm not defending Epstein. Let me be very clear. I want to see it all too. But if I were in his shoes, I would say this is a man who used power and used his relationships as a tool and as a cover for other things. So he bartered in these relationships. I mean, Dalai Lama was in his black book. Now, do I think that Dalai Lama was up to no good? I definitely don't. But he was probably at these parties in which he invited all these people and traded in on all these relationships. And then there were probably people who went on the Lolita Express and did a lot of bad things. And I think that's what the public wants to know. Who's on the good list, who's on the bad list, and what was really happening.
Well, here's what the president did say today about all this, and he did invoke Democrats. Number 1, please.
The Attorney General briefed you on the DOJ and FBI review, the findings of that review. The Attorney General briefed you on that.
What? On the
DOJ and FBI
on what?
review.
On what subject?
Epstein.
Okay.
On Epstein, of the review of the files. Attorney General Pam Bondi.
A very quick briefing.
Did she tell you, what did she tell you about the review? And specifically, did she tell you at all that your name appeared in the file?
No. She's given us just a very quick briefing, and in terms of the credibility of the different things that they've seen. And I would say that, these files were made up by Comey. They were made up by Obama. They were made up by the Biden. We went through years of that. with the Russia hoax, with all of the different things that we had to go through. We've gone through years of it, but she's handled it very well, and it's going to be up to her. Whatever she thinks is credible, she should release. Yeah.
On Texas, how many more seats do you want the Republicans to?
All right, we can get out of that. All right, I'm just going to run through some headlines, then we're going to take some questions. You guys chime in like your what people in Tennessee would call kibitzing. Just like jump right in. Don't wait to be called on. Just like exclaim like you're the old guys in the Muppet balcony. Yes, that ages me too. All right. Josh Hawley says the Biden staff secretary must testify under oath. This is the scandal of the century, the Biden use of the auto pen. Donald Trump wants Adam Schiff investigated for mortgage fraud. Ukraine is super important. We talked this morning about this. The president says he doesn't intend to let Ukraine have long-range missiles that can reach Moscow, which makes this less likely to be a nuclear war, but maybe more likely that Putin will continue the war. And Stephen Miller went on Fox and said that Gavin Newsom and Karen Bass were leading insurrectionists and murderous migrant mobs to murder ICE officers. Not sure exactly how he said that. Let's listen to that. 16, Stephen Miller.
We are deporting child predators and child rapists from these communities in mass. We are removing drug dealers. We are removing gang members. We have multiple foreign terrorist organizations like the Sinaloa cartel, like Tren de Aragua, like MS-13, that were imported in vast numbers by the Biden administration to rape, kill, maim, and murder innocent Americans. So that's the dystopia that we are healing, that we are resolving by getting these monsters out of our country. And as we are doing that under President Trump's leadership, Democrats are leading an insurrectionist mob to try to murder ICE officers. I can't be clear enough about this. The rhetoric from Governor Newsom, the rhetoric from Karen Bass, the rhetoric from Democrat leaders in Washington is directly encouraging and incentivizing murderous migrant mobs to attack ICE officers. When they describe ICE officers, these heroes, as some kind of fascist force, some kind of Gestapo force, they are using the language that is meant to justify violence. ICE officers are literally in real time liberating American communities, once peaceful, once idyllic American communities, from an invasion force. I cannot imagine a nobler, a more righteous activity for.
Hold on, dump out of this. Ben, is Stephen Miller a friend of yours?
I know Stephen. We're not like tight friends, but I know him. Yes.
All right. Yeah. Would you tell him to tone it down a little bit?
Look, I'm in Houston, and we got 1,364 illegal immigrants that were kicked out, thank goodness, arrested in June alone, several of them close to where I live, like down the street. You had sex traffickers. You had minors that were found with sex trafficking. You had fentanyl. You had several that were on the terrorist watch list as well. You had one that was actually stole a plane and decided to fly into the U.S. That's just like the highlight reel of the people that are in Houston around me. So I'm on board with this. I think if you are committing these types of heinous crimes, you're sex trafficking children. I think it was 19 that had already been convicted of sexual assault of children that had come across the border. One of them had been deported 6 times. I'm tired of it. And if you live in Houston where I live, there are people around here, a lot of them that aren't conservative. They're on the same way on this one. They want them out of their community.
I just meant Stephen's style, but
Stephen's going to be Stephen forever. Yeah. I can promise you that.
Yes. Nomi, I know you have strong feelings about Stephen Miller. What do you think of what he said there?
I think that in history, if we survive this moment, Stephen Miller is not going to look great. And that's the kindest thing I've ever said about Stephen Miller. Listen, I mean, allegations, as we know very well with the Trump administration's history in deporting people, I mean, the law has always been the law. If you break the law and you are here, whether you are on, undocumented going through a process or whether you have a visa, if you break the law, you are sent back. That has always been the law, and that is always what has been in effect. What they're doing, though, is making allegations left and right, pulling people off the streets who are American citizens, who were born here. I mean, how many stories have we heard where judges have put injunctions in, where people have been deported and have been sent back? Every day there's new stories. So you can quote thousands of people in these allegations, but these are just that, allegations. They're just pulling people off the streets at this point because they look different. Not to mention these ICE.
True.
don't even have the courage to show their faces or their names because they want to protect themselves from any sort of legal repercussions.
That's also not true. Mark,
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 saying
I have,
Mark,
Mark, I have,
Yeah.
hold on.
Go ahead. Go
I
ahead.
can speak this personally.
Yes,
I have a good friend of mine that is an ICE agent, and not only has his home been attacked, they had to move out of the home, and his children were doxxed on the internet by groups that took pictures and then found where he lived and then put his 4, 7, and 11-year-old children's faces and connected to the wife's social media, including the grandparents, and said, this is public enemy number 1.
Okay.
So
I don't
Hold
agree
on.
with that, but how would you feel if I don't agree
Yeah.
with any doxing of children? Let's just say
Yeah.
that.
but you just said it wasn't
But how about
happening.
other agents? So I mean, let's I have no reason to doubt Ben and other people have said it. Let's say that's true. Wouldn't that justify their wearing masks?
Yes.
No, I think that's a convenient excuse, to be quite honest.
Well,
I
no,
think
They weren't doing it
let's
before
say-
they were being
Let's
doxxed.
say no. I mean, let's say your uncle was an ICE agent, and he was doxxed, and he was identified by
sign up
visually.
for the job. You sign up for the job. Would you say it to a soldier? Would you say that to
Wow.
a police officer? Police officers don't cover their faces. They don't put their badge. They have IDs because they have a legal responsibility.
That's
So
not
you're-
true.
you're
SWAT,
saying-
SWAT individuals do it all the
you're-
time. If
you're
you knew
saying-
about law enforcement, you would know what you just said is not true.
you're-
SWAT team members
Yeah.
do this all the time and cover their faces.
No,
Have for 30 years.
No, I know you said you didn't support the doxing of kids, but let's say it's factually correct that agents who don't wear masks might have their kids doxed and that it's happened. Would you still oppose their wearing masks?
I would still oppose her wearing masks because I know
But
that.
would you still say it's part of the job?
Yes, absolutely. I think that this is a situation in which it is horrible when people are doxxed. I have friends who've been doxxed. Do you think college
Right.
students deserve
Yeah.
to be doxxed? Do you think, they have a mask ban they're putting in the city now because they think protesters on college campuses, should have to show their faces. So nobody should.
I don't want to bemoan it. I truly don't understand this. Why is it a problem if they're wearing masks?
Why is it a problem if a college kid wearing a mask on a college campus is?
Well, I didn't say I had a problem with that one way or the other.
Local wants to
but-
ban.
Well, I
masks
understand,
in
but I'm asking you if it's factually true that law enforcement and sometimes their families are doxxed if they don't wear masks, you'd still oppose their wearing masks?
I think doxing is the issue. The solution is not masks because they have
Yeah.
a duty to
To show their faces? Why do they have a duty to show their face?
Yeah, that's not true.
Why do they have a duty to show their face?
For instance, ACLU has been taking on a lot, these ICE agents who have been pulling people up and off the streets. It's been very hard to track who those ICE agents are in several situations because they're wearing masks, because they're trying to shield their identity. There was a situation in California
The amount of paperwork for a raid, everyone's there. They're all
that's
like,
not true at all, Ben.
again, I come from a
I
law
think
enforcement family.
File a FOIA
Mark,
request.
I come from a law enforcement family, and this is the part that just makes me laugh about people that don't understand law enforcement. Every single time my dad went on a raid, there is documentation beforehand and assignments of who is going to be there because you have to show up for work for the raid, and then you get briefed on the raid, and then they tell you who's in the car. You don't just have 15 dudes show up and go, anybody want to go to work today? It doesn't work that way. The court system every day goes back and they can see who was involved when there was an issue with law enforcement, and they know everyone that's there. And they know, and they all get subpoenaed.
There's no history of any sort of malfeasance.
Come on, like this might be the weakest argument I've heard in a long time.
I don't know what world you're living in right now. If you know anything about New York or Philadelphia or Chicago or New Jersey or any of the police forces in the 80s and 90s, you would know very well. And I'm talking about democratic cities with Democrats. I'm going after my own.
When you're going out on
law
a raid,
enforcement is not clean.
you are briefed
Especially
well
when they're violating
beforehand.
habeas corpus.
But I don't want to belabor it. I want to get some questions in. But I just say again, Nomi, and I don't mean to make this a double team on you, but I just don't understand why law enforcement officers we've seen now there's sometimes dots, why they have to not wear masks. I just don't understand the public. There's a value to their wearing masks. What's the public value of they're not wearing masks? Because the ACLU, as Ben suggests, they can go to court and they can say, well, we know who was there because the paperwork, and we can also identify them by their build. Like if
their badges,
if there needs to be some accountability, there's a way to do it. But we just know in the digital age, if they're not wearing masks, their kids could be doxxed.
So this is part of the issue here. First off, it's not a vast situation where everybody's being doxxed. There are some citizens.
A lot of them are.
And
I wouldn't want one. I wouldn't want one.
I've been I'm sure many of us have been doxxed on here.
Yeah.
It is not a fun situation. But It does not mean
But I'll just try again. What's the public value to their not wearing masks?
harder to track their name, because the truth is they're not filing the paperwork. There are cover-ups. The ACLU has multiple lawsuits right now. NPR did a great story on this the other day. Multiple lawsuits in which law enforcement is protecting their own. There was a guy standing outside of a Home Depot in California, in Los Angeles, who was an American citizen born in Los Angeles, who they grabbed to the ground. They were wearing masks and beat the crap out of him.
Okay, I'll just say,
and the ACLU could not figure out who those people were. It took them a month to figure out who those agents were.
So they did figure it out. They did figure it out.
A month though, and if he hadn't had a
freedom of information requests take time. Okay, got it. Okay, got it. I understand now. So it did. So the system did work, Mark. We just didn't like it because we can't intimidate ICE agents, and we wanted instant gratification by doxing them on the internet.
Not the children being pulled off the streets.
Anarchy 101. Here we go.
All right, stand by. Jen, welcome in. Bring some peace, love, and understanding to this spirited but respectful debate. Tell everybody you're from Oklahoma. We can see that on your description. So tell everybody what's on your mind for Nomi and for Ben.
I'm from Tulsa, and well, this spirited debate wasn't exactly where I was going with my comment. I wanted to talk about those who are wanting the Epstein stuff to all come out. And I want to specifically talk about the young voter and the first-time voter and those that are really having a problem with this. And I want to remind everybody that that group of people are ones who had real harm to their lives done during COVID and the lies. They lost graduations, they lost participating in sports, they lost, spending their senior year or whatever, their college years with, other students that they wanted to be with. A lot of them were sent home from college. They had real harm done to their lives because of the lies. And then they watched, all the lies about Biden and his capacity. So I think they are really struggling to find something to believe in. And I think Trump needs to talk to them specifically. And maybe Trump is going to say, I know what it's like to be accused of something that you didn't do, and to have law enforcement or the Department of Justice come after you unfairly. And I want to make sure before anything gets put out that we weed out those who are innocent from those who we have real evidence on. Whatever, he needs to have a heart-to-heart with people and explain their position, because I think he's going to lose those voters, and they're the ones that got him over the line.
Yes. All right, Jen, thank you. Very, very, very well stated. Nomi, what do you think of that thesis about young people and the through line there?
I mean, I think Jen's right in that those under the age of, say, 45 have seen institutions fail them left and right. They've seen the media lie to them. They've seen politicians lie to them. I'm of the generation where we were lied about the Iraq War, the economy collapsed. I mean, there's a reason why institutions and parties, political parties, are at their lowest trust in Congress, especially in history, pretty much, since we've been measuring this. So I do think that, if I were a young Trump voter, I would feel a little betrayed right now. Absolutely. If he promised me to hear about the Epstein files, sure, I would be very betrayed. Do I think he's going to do it? First off, he doesn't have to run for re-election. So I think, frankly, he doesn't care anymore. He's a lame duck. He's going to do whatever he wants to do. But I hear you, Jen, in that I think young people across this country are feeling mostly disengaged, and you see that reflect on the left and the right. It's happening across the board.
Ben.
Yeah, look, he's not a lame duck. That would be after the midterms. So he does care about not losing, because then he wouldn't get anything done as a lame duck president after the midterms. So he's listening. Two, I actually find this type of grand debate good, because it also shows that, everybody that says that Trump supporters are just whatever Trump says and tells us to do, we do it. That's clearly a fallacy. There is a core base that says they want transparency. He said he was going to give it to them. They clearly broke with him over the weekend in a major way. And I think there was a lot of people in Congress and a lot of people like me that were making phone calls and taking phone calls and like, hey, you guys are getting this wrong. You need to fix this and clean this up, because this could be hell to pay because of people that voted for him.
Hey, what's up? I'm in the middle of my other show.
Hold on. No. There you go. All right. Jen, thank you very much. Jacqueline, welcome in. Tell folks who don't know where you are, what's on your mind.
I'm in San Diego, and I've been looking at the headlines that about how ICE is really bad on the left and in the mainstream media, and I see a lot of red flags like, oh, they accidentally deported an American again, and then and there's testimony of abuses at the alligator, what's called alligator something,
Alligator
Florida?
Alcatraz.
Alligator Alcatraz. Okay. And I just think I'm not seeing any proof that there's anything systemic, but I see enough red flags. I think maybe with historical hindsight and more research, something will come out that was about problems in the system with the competence in avoiding corruption and how people are deported, or some
even
abuses because of
Jacqueline,
underfunding. I just think so.
Yep.
But at this stage, I just think it's important.
Let's let Ben respond. Go ahead, Ben.
Yeah, I was talking to somebody in law enforcement about this issue, gosh, 2 or 3 days ago. And they were saying, I said, are you worried that you guys are picking up American citizens? They're like, look, we're never perfect, but here's an idea. Maybe not let 10, 15, 20 million illegal immigrants come to this country and have us have to go through and find all of the ones that have committed heinous crimes and then expect us to be perfect 100% of the time. If you want to be mad at somebody, be mad at whoever was in charge that let all these people into this country. And now we were supposed to go out there and clean it up and find the worst among them. We're doing the best we can. Does law enforcement make mistakes? Yes. When we make mistakes, do we want to correct them as quickly as possible? Yes. And by the way, let's also be clear. There are Americans that are picked up every day accidentally in this country by law enforcement. That happens. Also, every day in this country, we separate families from children. Every day, there is a mother or a father who's an American citizen that we put in prison for 5, 10, 15, 20 years or life for committing crimes. So this new idea that, oh, well, if you separate a family, it's horrible all the time. No, we do it to our own citizens every day in our court system. Every single day. And this idea that, well, it's only, the people that haven't committed crimes are getting picked up with the illegals. No, it happens every day. We have people that have been convicted and wrongly accused in America. We have projects and organizations that raise money to get innocent people out of jail. Mistakes happen to American citizens often, unfortunately, but this problem is gotten so bad because we let so many, literally millions into this country illegally.
Nomi.
And this is the most callous thing I've ever heard. That does not justify. We should always be improving our criminal justice system so that whether an American citizen or undocumented or in the process of getting your documentation, or you have a visa or you don't have a visa, or you're a child, or you've been falsely accused, or you've been attacked as a Black man behind a wheel and shot to death because you looked funny by the police officer, that should not be the norm. And it is not justification. We should be improving our law enforcement. We should be reforming law enforcement.
Agree.
And let's be very clear.
No one's perfect.
Enforcement has received more money than ever in history, and yet their numbers are only getting worse when it comes to accountability. So, I love when the
disagree with that.
say, oh, this has been happening. This has been happening. Why are you complaining about it now? Because it's inhumane, it's cruel, and it's not what we should stand for.
It's inhumane and cruel to allow people to go among us and the number one killer 45 and under to be fentanyl and we not stop it. It's inhumane to allow children to be sex trafficked. It's inhumane to allow women to be raped and for people to be murdered by MS-13 gang members. That's inhumane as well.
Agreeing with any of this.
But you don't want to stop it. How would you stop it then?
Accountability. You do not want accountability.
Hold on. How would you stop it then?
Okay, there are plenty of reform efforts.
You don't like ICE doing it, so who would you send?
There's bills in Washington right now about this. First of all,
we already have laws. They've already broken the law. We don't need bills about
ICE
this.
like it's some sort of institution we've had for 50 years. We've had it for barely 2 decades.
Very, very good discussion. You two are very spirited and awesome. Let's get one more question and before we switch topics. Ray from Ohio, my friend. Ray, welcome in. Question or refereeing for Nomi and Ben, whichever you prefer.
Hi, Ray.
Yeah, I used to be a boxing referee, so this could be pretty good.
There you go.
But reference ICE wearing masks. The reasons they shouldn't is not a legal reason, because they certainly can. It's an American reason. It's a moral reason. In America, we do not have masked people who do not identify themselves pull people out of cars, jump on them, arrest them when they may or may not be citizens. We don't do that. And to say things like, no one's perfect, we've done these things before, minimizes what we're becoming. And if we do not figure out a way in which we can do what Donald Trump promised he would do, which is to get people who are in this country, first illegally and are criminals, and get them out of the country, that should be step one. And everybody agrees with that step. If you take a look at the polls, and if you take a look with people who have at least a little bit of heart, what they do not agree with is going to immigration centers and separating moms from children. And I know that happens to Americans every day.
Every day.
They do
Every
not
day.
agree with going to the Home Depot and pulling people off the street by masked folks who don't identify themselves. It's purely, in my mind, an American reason.
Hold on, they
America does
are
not do
identifying
this.
themselves. I think that
No.
this is where we
Ray
deal
has
with
a point.
facts.
There was a poll that came out yesterday. 79% of Americans believe that we should have immigration in this country, and the rest disagree with what
Legal.
Donald Trump is putting forward. We don't disappear people here. This is not Chile in the 80s and 90s. This is not Argentina. This is not Greece during the military dictatorship. You know, this is not who we are as a country. And I think Ray brings up.
I mean, with all due respect, I think you completely don't understand where the American psyche is right now in the last election that just happened. The majority of Americans are in favor of legal immigration. They're in favor of borders. They're in favor of doing it the legal way.
Yeah.
They're not in favor of illegal immigration. They're not in favor of just having a borderless country. You don't have a country. Even Bill Maher agrees with me, for goodness sakes, and said it over the weekend on his show, Mark.
I don't think he agrees with rounding up people on the streets with masks without.
I think he agrees that we have to deport people that are here illegally, especially criminals, and they should be the first to go.
Let me stop you and say a couple of things. First of all, Ray, you echoed Nomi, who also quite eloquent. I want to make it clear. I agree with you that there's American value. It would be much better if law enforcement weren't wearing masks for the very reasons you two have said. But there's also a modern reason that the founders would not have been able to anticipate, that the digital technology can be used to threaten the lives and families of people who are performing a public service, even if you disagree with the underlying policy. But here's my overall view of this conversation, and I may be deluded, and people may say, Mark, you've lost your mind. It's a spirited discussion on a range of topics, and yet it was not personal. And you both marshaled facts and high principles, and I couldn't appreciate more the level of the conversation. And I'm ambivalent about almost everything you guys disagreed with. I'm more ambivalent. Like I see both sides, and I don't want them wearing masks, but I know why they do. And if that were my dad, I'd want him wearing a mask.
Amen.
Just would. But at the same time, I agree, Ray and Nomi, you guys are right. It's not in the best tradition of America. But the founders did not anticipate the existence of TikTok. I feel confident in saying that. They just didn't.
Fair enough.
We're going to switch to another topic that I'm super excited about and eager to get to. And Ben, I couldn't be happier to have you here, and I hope you'll come back.
100%.
And Nomi, I always love having you on. We didn't get to talk about the new poll in the mayor's race.
Oh boy.
That shows Andrew Cuomo one-on-one whomping your candidate, but no time for that. And Ray, thank you for coming on. And grateful to everybody. And again, look forward to having you back. And I'd say look forward to having you two back together for a whole new round of topics. So thank you. All right, one more topic tonight. We'll take those folks off. Somebody will help me with that while we bring in our new guest, our next guest, as David Letterman would say. All right, this is an incredibly important company, as far as I'm concerned, and it's run by two people who have hearts as big as all of Georgia. How about that? Jordan Arrighetti lives in Georgia, and with her husband and others run a company that I believe, when they fully execute it, will change the world. I believe that's how revolutionary it is. Jordan, welcome. You've given a TED Talk on the themes underlying what your company's doing. Explain to folks what you're doing and how it's distinct from what exists elsewhere in the world. And thank you for being here.
Thanks, Mark. Good evening, everyone. It's such an honor to be with the 2A community. I think my husband is more excited that I'm on this show than giving a TED Talk.
As he should be.
Exactly. I'm the CEO and co-founder of a company called Support Now. We are the first and only family support platform. You know, Mark, I know you have a passion for this. You have a whole podcast about Cancer Decoded. We've all experienced that feeling of being on the receiving end of the phone call, the email, the text message, that someone we love is going through something extremely challenging, whether that be a cancer diagnosis, a loss, a natural disaster. And typically what happens within the first few minutes after you figure out what's happening, you ask yourself, what can I do to help? And I often joke that we live in a culture of cash and casseroles. And part of why we live in this culture is because we're conditioned by the tools available to us. We've become very familiar with certain fundraising platforms and meal planning platforms. And so what we strive to do at Support Now is really create a more modern experience to support people, not just through money and meals, but in all the ways that matter. And that is what really inspired the entire concept of my TED Talk around support languages.
So the reason I'm so excited about Support Now is the ethos of it is the same as Two-Way, which is how can we use technology to make human lives better and more connected? And again, we all know that a lot of the ways digital technology is being used is to divide people, to separate people, to make in real life experiences less common, less fulfilling. And what Jordan is doing with Support Now is what we're trying to do here, which is how do you take technology and use it to bring people closer together in a meaningful way, in an authentic way? And
that's right.
And that's what's so powerful about what you're doing to me.
Thank you, Mark. I think one other thing I want to add is, and I heard this in the spirited debate that we just had here, I believe that we're going to look back at history at the last 5 years as a modern Great Depression, not in terms of the economy or finances, but an emotional Great Depression. We have been through, and all of us, we've experienced compounding global traumas between the pandemic, wars, the increasing significance and danger of natural disasters, even the rise of AI that's created a whole bunch of workplace uncertainty. And as you alluded to, there's a human cost to this. And that human cost is our mental health. And this is very well documented. This is very well studied, that mental health across the board, whether you're a young man or a young mom, we are living in a world, it's kind of this cruel imbalance, this cruel irony, where we are more connected today by devices and platforms like this, yet we are more isolated and experiencing more burnout than ever. And so much about the ethos of Support Now is bringing back the concept of a village. Because as we've evolved as humans, is we've gotten away from what is instinctively inside of us. And so, to be a little bit more specific for your audience, I believe that we should value and cherish the person that walks the dog just as much as the person that makes a donation, the person that wants to pray for you, the person that wants to offer to watch your kids. And so really the goal here is to provide, honestly, a more inclusive and comprehensive platform, and in a way that meets families where they are today, because we have come a long way, and we've been limited in the ways that we support people because the tools available to us are a little bit outdated.
All right, I want to try to do three things in our remaining 7 minutes. I want Jordan to explain how the company works, how you can actually use this free service, number one. Number two, if folks have questions, I'd love for you to raise your hand and ask them. Now I'm going to speed read some news developments that someone was nice enough to send me that have occurred during the program. First of all, Ghislaine Maxwell family put out a long statement about her legal case. You can read it online. President Trump spoke on departure from Pittsburgh and said, amongst other things, that he's now back to maybe being open to fire. Jay Powell says that Powell's the renovation of the Fed is, I think it is, meaning a fireable offense. He also said, quote, I don't understand why the Jeffrey Epstein case would be important to people. I don't see what the fascination is. Some in the base won't like that. He said, I'm not in a rush to talk to Iran. And he said, Scott Bessent is an option for Fed chair, but he likes the job he is doing as Treasury chief. And a longer Epstein quote, I don't understand why the case would be of interest to anybody. It's pretty boring stuff. I think really only pretty bad people, including fake news, want to keep something like that going. And again, some people would not agree with that. The president would say, I can tell you that. So Jordan, explain to people if they want to engage with your platform, if they want to use the service, what do they need to do?
Thank you. If you know someone experiencing a major life moment, again, whether that's loss, hospitalization, cancer, natural disaster, of course, that's the kind of like the news of the month with the Texas floods. You can go to our website, supportnow.org. Like you mentioned, Mark, it is a completely free platform. It's also completely customizable, meaning if you want to fundraise, you can fundraise. If you want to organize meals, coordinate volunteers, share updates, everything about the experience is customizable because we know that the journey that families are on oftentimes evolve. We also have developed the largest database of active sortable medical grants in the world. That platform is called Connect. It's still underneath the Support Now umbrella, but it's all underneath this umbrella and this idea that families deserve more support, both through access to information and to grants, but also by encouraging people to step outside their comfort zone, to be more receptive to asking and receiving help, which I think is the number one thing that most people their biggest fear in life is not flying. It's not spiders. It's actually asking for help. It's rooted in shame. And I think the faster and the sooner that we open ourselves back up to the village, the sooner we will see improvements in our overall mental health and the overall support that families need oftentimes when they're going through difficult things.
I'll say three things about this service, Support Now. Number one, you'll be, I think, pleasantly surprised at how easy it is to use. Number two, you'll be surprised and delighted at how much the person you reach out to help will feel supported in a unique way. And number three, it's going to change the world and you want to be using it. You want to be an early adapter. A quick question, Raleigh, go ahead, come on in. And question for Jordan, please. There you go. No? Are you shaking your head no? Let's try again. No. You want to ask about something else, huh? No. All right. Thank you. Jordan, one more time, tell people, just because I want clarity, what's the kind of situation where people should go on supportnow.org?
Sure. We work with families, or we have families that are experiencing everything from a NICU stay to a cancer diagnosis to ALS, natural disaster. Also, I encourage you to, if you go to our website, we've also have pinned the support languages talk that I gave that gives more depth to this concept of knowing your support language so that you can be better positioned to help the people that you love when they're experiencing something. So often what we see is people are so afraid of doing or saying the wrong things that they do nothing. So at minimum, I encourage you to go to our website to take the quiz, to find your support language. And of course, if there is a need, whether that be for your own family or for a family in your community where you see the opportunity to rally other people, then you can use our products, again, completely for free. And I should also mention, families keep more of the money than on any other fundraising platform. So it really is a win-win-win across the board. And I'm super, Mark, I'm super grateful for the opportunity here to talk to your community, who I know will certainly see the value in a product like this.
How do you get to give a TED Talk? Do you draft it or do you volunteer?
It's so funny. They called me and I thought it was a prank. I made them call me twice before I took it seriously. They saw a presentation that I gave at a conference, and then they read about us in the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. We had a really nice piece written about us, and they said, "Hey, are you ready to give the talk of your life?" And I joked, unless it's about UNC basketball, I don't know what to say. And then I thought about it a little bit more, and I realized, after talking to thousands of our customers, I actually know exactly what to say. And that is that so often we undervalue our ability to step up in people's lives, and it creates so much divide and so much division within our communities. And it doesn't need to be that way. We simply need to encourage all the support behaviors that are valuable to a family, but we need to prompt people. We need to remind people that their support matters, even if it doesn't look like cash or casseroles.
Who's the second greatest men's basketball player in UNC history?
Oh, other than Michael Jordan, I'm an Antoine Jameson fan. It's the strangest selection, but he was the underdog. He was a very underseen, undervalued recruit, and he came in under Dean Smith and had an incredible career. Obviously, went off to do great things in the NBA, and he's still one of my favorite players.
Just might be top 5, but he's not number 2. Jordan, thank you. Again, it's supportnow.org. Please go take a look. Jordan, very grateful to you for joining.
Thank you.
Great
Thank you so much.
All right. Right now, go if you want to watch Michael Moynihan's show, please do. It's a great episode. It's already been recorded, so you can watch it stream. Ken Klippenstein is Michael's guest. Yes, the correct answer is James Worthy. Ken is Michael's guest, and they talk about the Epstein case. So you can watch that right now. And in 30 minutes here on Two Way, I'll be joined by my co-host and partner, Dr. Patrick Soon-Shiong. Cancer Decoded. Our guest, Senator Bill Cassidy, one of the most thoughtful people in the country about public policy and health. We'll be talking to him about cancer and his experience dealing with the issue as a doctor and as a public policymaker. So please join us in 30 minutes right here for the latest episode of Cancer Decoded. I'll say again, we want to build the largest support group for cancer in the world, and we want to do it by providing great information and by providing comfort. So join me 30 minutes, and I'll see you at 9 a.m. tomorrow also for the morning meeting. Thank you all very much for being part of this. Thanks to our two guests and to Jordan. Have a great night, everybody, and see you in 30.